In what was an incredible game, the Auburn Tigers fall to the Tennessee Vols.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, man. Welcome on into this special live edition of Locked On Auburn. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Darrell Dapprich joining me from a mysterious, unknown location. Auburn falls to Tennessee 70-65, despite a well-timed, incredible 10-0 run at the end there. The Tigers couldn't quite dig themselves out of this hole that they found themselves in. And the story of this one will be free throws. Auburn missed a ton of free throws. Tennessee did not. And ultimately that decided this one.
Yeah, it's rare that something jumps out at you as a absolute reason or factor. Look, when you play Tennessee, you know that scoring is going to be at a premium. Okay. Yeah. Auburn did a good job from the field goal perspective, but it's not like Tennessee's an offensive dynamo either. So scoring for both teams are at a premium. The last
Except for the first few minutes. Holy cow.
Right,
the first few minutes were insane.
Yes. The last freaking thing you want to do against a team like Tennessee that's pretty good defensively is give them free throw opportunity after free throw opportunity. Now, sometimes there's a free throw shooting differential, but it wasn't. I mean, Auburn had almost as many free throw attempts as Tennessee. I think you have it, maybe three less.
Tennessee shot 27, Auburn shot 22.
Okay, still five is still a little bit significant. But at the end of the day, it's the fact that Auburn couldn't make their free throws and Tennessee did. What, Tennessee made 11 more, Zach? Is 12
that more. Tennessee was 25 of 27, which is incredible. Hats off to them. And Auburn was 13 of 22. That's 59%. That's awful. That's terrible. Especially when Janai Brew was a big part of that. I mean, your National Player of the Year, the guy who got you here, and also a guy where we've all been begging, like, call fouls on him. And then he started to actually get some calls today. And then
didn't do anything with it.
He didn't do anything with it. Exactly.
That's the frustrating part, is that this is what Auburn fans wanted to see, is get him to the line. And the National Player of the Year candidate did not capitalize. And that's your ball game. Not just him. Okay, I'm not putting that all on him because they're not even close to this game without his field goals.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Zach, it's sometimes so hard to point at things and say, what if? Auburn lost by 5, giving up 12 more points from the free throw line. That ain't rocket science. I mean, I don't have to be Dr. James Naismith to figure that one out.
Yeah.
And that's your ball game. And so, again, Tennessee's elite defensively, but Auburn still did enough to get to the line. Look, I get it, 5 less free throw attempts. But if Auburn just makes 5 more free throws, which is an average free throw percentage, you're talking about this game going into overtime. And, oh, by the way, had 3 wide open threes, 3 wide open looks to tie the game. Denver, Kelly, and Chad, and could not knock down the big shot. So here's the good news.
And those are guys that you'd be fine with taking it.
Absolutely. So the law of averages says, and the trend says, you may have gotten this out of the way. Okay. I don't suspect Auburn's going to shoot that piss poor in an NCAA tournament game again. If they do, they deserve to get bounced. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Auburn's going to shoot that poorly in an NCAA tournament game from the free throw line. So you got, that's something. Tennessee's a really good basketball team. They're a 2 seed. You beat them already at home. I get it, neutral floor. But look, they have to walk out of this game going, wow, we hit 25 of 27 from the free throw line. We're pretty fortunate to do that. That's kind of rare.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's a couple of different ways you can feel about this game. One is, wow, that was one of the best games I've watched all year. And going into today, when you saw the Final Four for the SEC tournament, Auburn, Tennessee, Bama, Florida, there's a chance that the true Final Four doesn't look that much different. I mean, you just talk about elite talent and everything that comes to the table. I mean, it was going to be an incredible day of basketball in Nashville. for the SEC. And like, I didn't have a great feeling about this one. I picked Auburn. I told my wife when we were driving home to watch the game, I'm like, I don't feel great about this matchup. And she's like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, doesn't mean anything. We don't win the SEC tournament championship. And she's like, I thought we already won the SEC. And I'm like, right. And so it's, for like, I was trying to explain like why this game was important to win to somebody who doesn't really follow college basketball. And that kind of like brought some perspective on it. It's like, oh, okay. All right. Auburn will be the number 1 overall seed. I'd be shocked if that was not the case at this point. If they would have lost yesterday, I think there were some arguments. I still don't agree with them, but I think there would have been an argument. I don't think there is at this point. As far as the panic that is happening, which is fine. Like, losing sucks. It's okay to be upset when you lose. I'm not, especially the way they lost with your National Player of the Year candidate going, what did we just say? 5 of 12, 5 of 13, whatever, from the charity stripe. Like, you have plenty of reason to be upset. I'm not pushing back on that at all. But ask yourself, like, why are you upset? Are you upset just because you lost and you wanted to make history and win the regular season and the tournament championship? I have no issues with that. You could be upset because of that, 100%. But to use this as evidence, as many people are in the live chat, to support the claim that Auburn's going to be one and done in the NCAA tournament or a round of 32 exit, while those things could happen, I'm not saying that they can't happen. What happened today will not be tied to if Auburn has an early exit in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. They're two totally separate things. So if you're going to be upset, I just ask, like, let's be logically consistent with why you're upset and just, I guess, be able to explain it to the other strangers on the internet.
Man, you articulated kind of what you said, and how you articulated is kind of what I was wanting to say with my fact that it's not going to happen again. Don't count on that happening again. So let me put this in perspective. If Auburn gets beat in the round of 32, because if they're not getting beat in the first, that ain't happening. If they get beat in the round of 32, the only way that happens, so people need to calm down and understand that, yes, what happened in this game today has no factor on the NCAA tournament unless the problems, the flaws, the bugaboos that ailed Auburn today happen against a good team. So meaning, if you go 48% or 52% from the free throw line and a team just gets hot, again, Tennessee's a different type of team and a different kind of style. It's rare to face someone like that in the round of 32. So that's the only way that happens, is if the warts that emerged in the last couple games, whether it's missing free throws, getting out rebounded, that kind of thing. Auburn did a good job from the turnover standpoint. I think they kind of did a pretty decent job on the boards. They put a team at the line 27 times who hit 25 of those. That is fluky. I'm sorry. Now, if you can look, I don't know if it's Stephen Pearl or Burgermeister that does the defensive game plan, but you freaking better figure out quickly why you're putting teams on the bleeping line so many times. Yeah. Something needs to be done about that. Now, if it's style of play, if it's officiating, if it's reputation that Tennessee is really, really good defensively, so therefore it can't be a foul. But if you hear Jay Billis talk, everything Auburn does is wrong and everything the opponent – I used to not buy into that. I didn't listen to it. Sidebar there, I would laugh and shake it off. He is becoming glaringly obvious with some sort of – and I don't know what it is, but he was right. That tap-out foul that they called on Tennessee late was a joke. It was a joke. But Auburn gets called for those kind of things all the time. I mean, Auburn's used to that.
Well, and also he'll comment on it and then keep talking about it and keep talking. He just dwells on it. It's like, there's a lot of other things to talk about right here. But so the discussion of like, okay, yes, you lost 3 out of your last 4. It's relevant going into the tournament. Okay, let's have this discussion. So the 3 of the 4, your last 3 losses in the last 4 games, obviously we beat Ole Miss. You lose to Tennessee, top 10 team. Lose to Texas A&M, was a top 10 team for a good chunk of the season. They're not now, but they're still a solid team. What are they going to be? What seed line are they?
6.
They're a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament right now.
Okay, yeah.
And then the other was Alabama, who is fighting for a 1 seed. They'll probably be a 2. So let me ask you this. And Auburn was fine in all of those games. The A&M one, I actually am totally okay with, like, logically taking that one out because it's not the same. But losing to Bama, losing to Tennessee stinks, 100%. But it was close. So let me ask you this. If Auburn plays like they did against Alabama or Tennessee in those two losses, their first match is going to be either, according to Joe Lunardi, they'll play the winner of Iona and St. Francis. I don't even know where those schools are.
New York and Pennsylvania.
Okay. You could have said any two states. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. But, like, are those the same things?
No.
The same thing?
No.
And then if they win, like, you play a Marquette or a Baylor, like, I think Marquette's pretty good. Like, that, if you want to have that discussion, like, that's fine. But to act like Marquette is, like, close to Tennessee or Bama, once again, like, if you're going to be upset, I'm fine with it. Let's just be consistent with what exactly we're upset about.
Well, first of all, I don't like Marquette being an 8 seed. I think that's too low. They're a 6 or a 7. That's stupid.
The 3 or 4 times I've seen them, they've played way better than that.
Yeah. Okay. So your point is, out of the let's break this down and let's talk truth here. Let's spit facts so people understand the 3 out of 4 argument, what that equates to. You lost 3 out of 4 to 2 teams that you wouldn't see till the Final Four. Period. Alabama and Tennessee, where they'll be seated, are Final Four caliber teams. Okay, A&M is a Sweet 6 team or Elite 8 team. So you've lost 3 of 4 to 2 Final Fours and perhaps an Elite 8 team.
A 1 seed can't play a 6 seed until the Elite 8.
Right.
Yeah.
So I get it. I mean, it's trending. People want to say, oh my God, Auburn's lost 3 out of their last 4. That matters in the tournament. Let me ask you a question, Zach. Did it matter in the tournament last year when Auburn went into the NCAA tournament winning 4 in a row?
Right.
How did that help Auburn when they lost a bunch of freaking Ivy Leaguers?
Yeah, so it's like, once again, let's be consistent with all of
this. The NCAA tournament is a new season.
Could those things happen? Yes, but it will not be because of what happened.
And it's not because they lost 3 or 4. Put that aside, put that away. It's not a trend of what you're going to see coming, because if that's the case, Auburn should have went to the Final Four last year with the way they were playing towards the end of the year. And again, the NCAA tournament is a reset. It starts everything all over again. Ooh. Auburn has played really, really well in those types of scenarios. Guess what happened today for the first time all year, Zach? Guess what happened today for the first time all year with that loss? That's the first time Auburn's lost on a neutral floor all year.
Neutral floor. Gotcha.
What I'm just trying to figure out what the NCAA tournament's played on. What kind of floor?
A neutral one. Yeah.
A neutral floor, yeah. And so I would just pump the brakes. It's disappointing, yes, but do not let recency bias define a team or a whole year. Mm-hmm. Doesn't need to happen.
Okay, now I think that's some perspective. Now, there are some major concerns that I now want to discuss that I do think you can say, hey, this is a problem going into the tournament. We'll attack that next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Darrell, can you imagine wagering anywhere other than with our friends at FanDuel? I can't. No way. No way. Right now, you can bet on Auburn for a lot of future things. Right now, they're plus 350 to win the national championship. And you also can bet on Janai Broome at plus 120 to win National Player of the Year. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and more. Visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long over at FanDuel.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Frustrating game. Auburn drops one to Tennessee 70-65. Now, a few things I am concerned with, and I'm not really talking about the wins and losses. I'm talking about looking at specific things that I think actually translate to the NCAA tournament. Chaney Johnson has disappeared. Chaney Johnson has disappeared offensively, and what made this team so good through the meat of the season was the stars stepped up, whether it was Janai, whether it was Miles, whether it was Denver. Everybody had their nights. And then you had your role players step up when needed. Some nights it was Dylan Cardwell. Some nights it was Chad Baker-Mazara. But a lot of the chunk of the time, like Chaney Johnson was scoring 10 points every time he went out. It's like, if Chaney scores 10, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It just seems like offensively, he has disappeared over the past few games. And that is something I'm legitimately concerned with. 3 points, 1 of 3 shooting.
Yeah, I agree. That is a concern because we felt like he was such a key component to Auburn having the kind of season they needed to have preseason. When we talked about it, it was coming to fruition. And now that he's kind of disappeared, you wonder if there's a correlation between the team struggling a little bit and him disappearing. And you could throw Dylan Cardwell into that mix too.
Sure.
From a scoring standpoint. But I'm not talking about scoring as many points as Chaney. I'm just saying something.
Dylan scored 7. I don't think – I actually thought Dylan played pretty well today.
Today he did. He was 0 and 0.
Last few weeks.
Last few weeks. And we don't know what kind of injury issue he left the game with either. So that's something to keep
and there was another one recently where like he didn't play much because of fouls, if I remember. I forgot which one that was.
But the Chaney Johnson argument's a wonderful one.
And then let's hit on the other big one.
Yeah.
Tahad Pettiford went 0 for 8 today. And this is a guy that we've labeled him, the whole Auburn fan base is like big game Tahad. You know, he gets there whenever the stage is brightest. And I'm going to be honest, Darrell, especially when Auburn was primed for that run in the second half, I kind of expected Tahad to like turn it around just because that's what we're kind of gotten used to seeing. It's like when you need a bucket, Tahad has been able to step up and be that guy. He was 0 for 8 today. That's brutal. That's brutal when your star freshman shoots it 8 times and doesn't score anything. That's bad. That's really, really bad. Especially when we've all labeled him as this like big game Tahad. To me, like the stat lines and productions of Tahad Pettiford and Chaney Johnson, seems like a lot of people want to panic today. And that's fine. You can. I'm not telling you not to. I would use that as the reason to panic, not the fact that they lost 3 of the last 4.
Wow. Yeah. Can I give the flip side of that? Can I give the hypothetical then, or the devil's advocate?
Sure.
That's the reason why I wouldn't panic. Because Tahad Pettiford's not going to do that when the tournament rolls around. He's not going to go 0 for 8. He's not.
Okay.
It ain't going to happen. If he does.
Okay.
But I see what you're saying. That's a concern. And let's call a spade a spade. If he's just 3 of 8, which is less than 50% for the field, how different does that game look? That's 6 points you lost by 5. There's so many ifs and buts and candies and nuts in this game. I get it, but they're all irrelevant because everything happened. It's a perfect storm. All those things happen at the same time. If Tahad goes 0 for 8, but you hit 5 or 6 more free throws like you should, what happens? If you miss all those free throws, but Tahad goes 4 for 8 and hits one of those 4 as a 3, how's it change the complexion? Everything. And if Tennessee doesn't hit 25 of 27 free throws, if they just hit 23 of 27, which is still superhuman. So everything that could have happened from a perfect storm standpoint happened. Now, if it happens again, I'm concerned. If you play an opponent in the NCAA tournament and they hit 25 of 27, you may get beat. If Chaney is on a milk carton and disappears, you may get beat. If Pettiford goes 0 for 8, but what are the odds of all of those things happening simultaneously is what I'm saying, and that's why I'm not panicking.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think you could feel certain ways about certain aspects of this, but do I feel as confident about this team as I did 3 weeks ago? Absolutely not.
No, and you shouldn't, and that's okay.
Absolutely not.
That's okay, but because I get that, and that is legitimate, and that is warranted. But the good thing about the NCAA tournament is you only need 2 games to feel right back where you were 3 weeks ago.
That's true. And they're going to be against teams that.
And you know, Zach, I'm a fatalist. I mean, I am that type of sports fan. I hate it. I wish I wasn't. I wish I could take a pill for it. I watch a game and Auburn's up 16 with 10 minutes to go. And I'm like, son of a gun, it's going to get. I am the world's worst with that. I just am. And it's years of being a sports fan. It's teams that I've pulled for, things happening. Okay. When you're as old as me, you've seen a lot of games, you've been a part of a lot. So I am a fatalist with that. And I am not panicking yet.
Yeah. I don't think I'm panicking, but 3 weeks ago, there was a pretty common discussion of like, all right, do you take Auburn and Duke or the field? And a lot of people said Auburn and Duke.
To be clear, I'm not saying you are. I'm just talking about some of the things that you said that our fan base is. That's not you. You have a right to be concerned. There is and you absolutely nailed it. You nailed it. You said, do I feel as confident about this team as I did 3 weeks ago? And the answer being no is a legitimate, valid reason you shouldn't be. But again, we could be having this post-game show next Saturday or next Sunday with Auburn heading to the Sweet 16, and we'll feel completely different. And they should be. And they should be. They should be.
If you had to predict how far Auburn goes right now, we're emotional. We just saw this team lose. If you had to pick how far they go, what would you say?
Final Four.
How about that? I'll say Elite Eight.
Okay. I just think, again, yes, things can happen that make you feel uncomfortable the last couple weeks, or actually the last week. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Remember what they did all up to that point. And it's a whole body of work. And I know that a lot of people on the NCAA selection committee know a lot more about basketball than I do. And if they make Auburn the overall number 1 seed tomorrow, then they're agreeing with me saying this is a Final Four caliber team.
Mm-hmm. And I think they will. I think they will. They will be the number 1 overall seed. I'd be shocked if they weren't. And I've read a few different places now. Even if they're not the number 1 overall seed, it doesn't change the geography.
Right, it doesn't. They're still going to the South region. It doesn't matter if you're the number 1 overall seed or you're number 2. You're going to Lexington and Atlanta.
Right, period. Which is the only reason we wanted it anyway.
The number 1 overall seed's pride. The more important aspect of that is where you play. And Lexington and Atlanta is you couldn't draw it up any better.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. A lot of folks saying Sweet 16, a few Elite Eights. I think I saw a Final Four in there. So we'll see. We will see what happens. You gotta shoot better from the charity stripe. You finally got calls, and then you didn't capitalize. And that's on Janai Broom. That's on Janai Broom. And we'll see what happens with Chaney Johnson offensively. We'll see what happens with the Hot Pettiford offensively. I mean, Denver scored 10, but he was still 1 of 6 from the floor. Like I think Denver left a lot on the table too. But there is this balance of I don't think we were our best offensively, and also Tennessee is a dang good defensive team as well. And so it's you got to find that.
And they got 25. And they got 25 points from the stripe. I'll tell you, Denver Jones missing 2 wide open threes shocked me. There was a sequence where Miles Kelly was going to catch and shoot, and he bobbled the ball. And I feel like if he didn't bobble the ball and caught it clean and went straight up, it's a tie ball game. That happened. You saw the missed free throw by Denver on the second half after Schulman said he's an elite free throw shooter. That crap happens every time. He misses the second one. Broom misses 2. I pray for whoever Auburn plays in the first round of the tournament.
Okay.
Pray for them.
I love
because Broom, after a 5 for 12 performance and how he owns things and how accountable he is, just get ready.
Yeah. All right. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Instagram, Darrell Dap. And then tomorrow, you and I will do what's become a traditional live selection show.
Yes.
Where we will cover. Now, it's 5 o'clock Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. So depending on when Auburn gets announced, then we'll jump in, I guess. I'll be ready to go from a location.
Yep.
And that's fun. We can break down the teams in Auburn's region and bracket and all that good stuff.
Yep. All right. Please like the video. Please subscribe. And we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.